the previous video, we covered what dopamine is and how you are unable to complete your tasks because of it. How and why you spend countless hours just scrolling through TikTok on your phone, but you can't even focus on a thing that matters in you, that makes your life better, that actually has production in your life. You will never achieve your dreams if you keep on doing this. So today we're just going to talk about how we can solve these problems, how we can be able to focus more on the meaningful work, on the work that is going to will make us what very productive. That is, going to make us achieve our dreams, to live our dream life. So there are actually many ways of doing this. How we can be able to solve the dopamine issue. How we can be able to what. Okay, let's start by giving an example of how you are unable to complete doing the meaningful work, right? So let's say maybe you're backtesting, you're analyzing, or you're doing, I don't know, maybe you're reading, or maybe you're studying for school actually. This is the example that I'm going to be working with. So maybe you're studying, right? So you're just 30 minutes in and you want to take a break. What do you do on your break? So I want you to think of this question throughout the video, right? I'm going to give you an answer that's actually going to be using for us to be able to do more work. Right? What do you do on your break, right? And I'm sure that if you go to TikTok and you watch TikTok, what as I mentioned in the previous video, if you watch TikTok, your baseline is actually going to rise. And when you want to come back to studying, maybe when you're studying, the dopamine levels are around these levels. When you come back to study, is this going to excite you? Right? Of course, you want to maintain this high peak or even go what higher in order for you to become more excited, right? So if you go and watch TikTok, of course, coming back to study is going to be boring for you. Hence, you won't be productive, right? So that's the question that I want you to have in your mind as throughout this video, right? So there are actually many ways of controlling your dopamine or doing dopamine fast. So there's the extreme method and so like the medium term method, right? Then later in the video, I'm going to tell you how you can actually control or maintain your dopamine edges in order for you to do what you want and when you want, right? So the best solution, actually the best solution for you to deal with dopamine so that you don't you don't listen to the dopamine, what the dopamine is telling you to do, but you do what you know is meaningful, what you want to do, right? So the extreme methods, we've got the all in methods, so like the complete fast for dopamine, right? So how does actually dopamine detoxing or dopamine fasting, how does it actually help you, right? So when you're overly excited, right? So let's just take a typical life for a teenager, right? For example, right? Maybe you wake up, the moment you wake up, you're on TikTok or maybe watching something on the internet, right? Of course, your dopamine is going to rise, right? So your dopamine is always going to be fluctuating. It's always going to be rising. It's always going to be on the peak, right? After watching TikTok, just out of bed, you go eat some junk food. Of course, dopamine is high eating. You have got dopamine is always high. That's so like the general life. Maybe you go for a party or something like that. Your dopamine keeps on rising. All these instances, right? So the complete fast is so like when you avoid doing all those things, right? So the fast is, we say you don't use your phone. You've got maybe no sugar, no TV, cold shower. You go for a cold shower, no junk food. In short, nothing that excites you too much, nothing that you want to do so badly, right? So how does this actually help you, right? So as I said, in a normal life, right, you are going to keep on getting what these high dopamine peaks, right? So imagine you've got what a dopamine peak, maybe you watch TikTok, maybe you're hungry and you eat what you eat a burger, right? So dopamine goes higher a little bit. Go for a party, it goes even higher, right? Imagine if when you are coming back and you want to study, and studying, of course, isn't exciting as all these three peaks that we have mentioned over here. Of course, studying has got a lower dopamine level of maybe some over here. Is studying actually going to feel good to you? Are you actually going to feel motivated to keep on studying for even more than 30 minutes? Right? Of course not, because you want to reach these higher dopamine levels. You want to break these higher levels in order for you to become even what happier, right? Because if you don't break past this peak, so like maybe in the last 5 minutes, right, you just hit this peak over here. If there is nothing that breaks this peak over here, of course you're not going to be excited as much, right? Let's say, for example, you just over here you picked the $100 over here, right? $100, you just picked Benjamin, right? And the next within 5 minutes or 2 minutes you pick $5. Are you going to be as excited as this first time, right? But if you start by picking what $5 over here, right, and the next time, just after 5 minutes, 5 seconds, 5 steps away, you pick $100. Obviously, you're going to be excited rather than this previous five, rather than this peak over here, right? So, how dopamine works is, if you want to be so like happier for the previous 5 minutes, so like more motivated to do something, you have to make sure that what you break past the peak that was previously below, right? So the complete dopamine fast is maybe you spend a day or a week, depending on you. That all comes down to you, right? But I don't see the point of doing it over a week, right? But maybe just for a day, right? If you avoid all these peaks over here, right? So we are just saying that maybe what on your normal baseline, right? And if you just want to study, you just go study. Maybe it drops a little bit, but even if it drops, but there's nothing that is the major peak over here. So right over here, you could be even motivated to do more work rather than when you just recently hit this peak and you want to go study. You are not going to spend much of your time studying. Right? So this is why people do a complete fast so that they avoid these peaks, right? So maybe you have a project or you want to learn something new. This is when I advise you that you do a complete dopamine fast, right? But is it actually necessary? Well, that's the next type of fasting that, so like way of controlling dopamine that we are going to be talking next. And later, I'm going to show you how to train your dopamine, how to tame that dopamine, right? So the next level is, right? So like the simpler method of doing this is we're studying, right? I'm just taking an example of studying, but maybe you're backtesting, you're analyzing, journaling, or whatever you're doing, right? Or you're learning a new strategy, whatever it is, it just comes down to you. But whatever task that you think is boring to you, right? We are doing that task, right? That task, right? So is on this is the what baseline level, so like the level that we are on dopamine, right? So when you want to take a break, what do you have to avoid, right? So this is the question that I asked you before. Are you going to watch TikTok and make the dopamine hit high, or what are you going to do? Because if you make that dopamine peak high, for you to be motivated to read a book, make sure that you're going to read a book that excites you even past this level. Are you going to be able to do that? Are you going to be able to find a book that can excite you past watching TikTok? Of course not. Or as for me, of course not. Unless it's a book about money that's going to give me instant money, then maybe I can be motivated. But in all cases, we know that there's no easy money, there's no quick money, there's no fast money. So this is actually what you have to do. So actually, this you precondition yourself maybe about an hour before you start studying. Make sure that you don't do anything that excites you too much, right? So an hour before and during studying, right? Make sure that you don't do anything that makes your peak go up that much, right? Just do the normal stuff. Don't touch your phone, or don't do anything that excites you too much, right? So that you'll be able to focus more, right? So what I want you to do when you take a break or something is I want you to do something that's even more boring than what you're actually doing right now. So a perfect example is this is just sitting and thinking about nothing, just staring at the wall, or just nothing, actually doing nothing. Doing nothing is very boring, guys. I've been there. Doing nothing, finding nothing to do is very boring. So what's going to happen is this baseline is actually going to drop a little bit. So like that dopamine, right? Doing nothing is very boring. And when you want to start again, of course, you'll be motivated to start because at least you'll be doing something. So it's actually going to rise a little bit better, a little bit further. Right? So you are going to be motivated to focus more on that work. Right. So this is actually better than a complete fast, because a complete fast, we are saying that you are doing this for what? For maybe a day or something like that. So this is actually better because you just do it maybe an hour before studying or doing that task that's boring to you. So it's actually better. It's actually very, very better, right? And then during this period, then after you can go back to your normal fucked up life, and then you do that random shit that you always do, right? So this is actually better, right? And then for the way that I was talking about, for you to be able to control your edges, your dopamine edges, right? This is actually the best way for you to go about dopamine, right? So the next time that you feel motivated to do something, right? So let's say Next time that you want to do motivated to do something, maybe you want to go out for pizza or something, try to delay that activity. Maybe you just woke up, right? Try delaying what? Touching your phone, because once you touch your phone, you are going to be overly excited, right? Yeah, you have given in to dopamine, right? So it's so like a, should I say, a war between you and dopamine, because we all need dopamine in order to function. We need dopamine, but we don't want those hits, those peaks, right? So in order for you to function, in order for you to do work, you need dopamine. But it's the hits that we are against, those peaks, those high peaks. That's what we are against, right? So try to delay what? Gratification, right? So delayed gratification, as I said, is actually brings higher rewards, right? So let's say you are in town, you're passing through a restaurant, McDonald's, right? And you get that edge, right? So just make sure that, just tell yourself, I'm going around the block, or I'm going somewhere, then I'll come back and eat that hot dog, or that whatever, that taco, whatever it is, right? But try to do what you want. Try to tame your brain to avoid doing whenever it thinks. Try to avoid doing that, right? So you have to make sure that you say, I want to eat an ice cream, right? Tell yourself, okay, we'll eat an ice cream after we finished reading so many pages or whatever, after doing this task, or after an hour, just giving yourself time limit. But you are controlling your ages, right? So there was a peak, right? But it actually drops because we have controlled our ages, right? So next time we will be able to control that same age, right? Because it knows, now our brain has learned, now it knows that we are not going to get what we want when we want it, right? So it's so like you'll be taming your energy levels, your, should I say energy levels? I actually meant your dopamine levels to be on a constant level.